in July, the university did release that I was conducting kind of this preliminary investigation of donations from Epstein, and there were some.
Yes.
And we said these donations are concerning. Can you talk to me a bit about why donations like that are concerning? And
yeah, I mean they're complicated. So I know what we're doing now is looking at the data to try to have. We had I think PricewaterhouseCoopers was doing a review of our records to try to find which donations had come from him or from foundations that he controlled, and so that's underway now. Then those data will be reviewed when we get them. We we care very much about who we are and want to have appropriate relationships with people. And there's certain people who we wouldn't work with based on who we know they are. And so those data we consider and then try to review things to be appropriate about that. So that's what we're looking now, seeing what we received from him, the circumstances of that, and then we'll be able to evaluate those things as we come forward.
And what's the firm conducting that investigation?
It's
Ernst & Young.
Oh, Ernst & Young. Sorry for let me apologize to Ernst & Young. It's one of the major accounting firms. It turned out to be Ernst & Young. There are four of them. So.
And is there any projected timeline for that investigation?
And the next few weeks, several weeks, I think, is when it's going to be done.
So what kind of a stage is this investigation on right now? Because the report that came out before was like of preliminary findings of the kind of things that
it's really being done by them. So I don't know, honestly, I wouldn't know where they are now.
Okay.
And was there, I guess, how much money from the university side are we expecting to spend on that investigation?
As little as possible, as much as it takes. So this shouldn't be horrifically extensive. This isn't like, so I know that there were stories about how much the Strauss investigation cost. That's because it was looking back 20, 30, 40 years when there weren't records and then interviewing people from all over the country. And that took longer than I thought it would, but it took, when we published the report, we said we had at least this number. We didn't think that we had 100%, and others have come throughout to it. But that was a very, very long report. This is something that will take a few weeks and not be nearly that much. Okay, I was thinking of another topic, but I'll let you go forward.
Yeah, so I guess kind of thinking from the back end of that, when the university is receiving donations, is there any kind of like vetting process for, are we accepting this donation, are we not, who is this coming from, how does that look?
Yeah, there's we generally have information on the people who are giving us donations, and so we've reviewed that as a rule, particularly when we're getting large donations. We tend to know who they are, they have backgrounds, and we work with them. Those often take a long time to come forward, and so that's the case. And then so there's a vetting process. I think everyone is looking even more carefully at that. Cases like this where the person has no particular notoriety before they give the money, and then they become notorious a decade later. Those are different. But we would want to make sure that we have and I know in our advancement committee people are looking carefully and making sure we do appropriate vetting. We have 273,000 donors last year, so we wouldn't vet the smaller donors that carefully. That would be a difficult thing. But with larger donations, we tend honestly to know the people well, and they are wonderful. People who we're really pleased to be associated with overwhelmingly. There's the occasional circumstance like this, which is so unfortunate.
So I guess like going back to 2007 when we found out that Epstein's foundation donated about $2.5 million to the naming of Les Wexner's football complex. Yeah. And so I was just wondering if, keeping that in mind, the university has any concerns about his relationship to Wexner.
We've seen, like you, the reports in the media, and so that's the information that we have. The Wexners have been great supporters of the university in multiple ways for many years, and have done many things to uplift the community and the university, and we appreciate that very much. you've seen from Mr. Wexner how regrettable his relationship with Mr. Epstein is to him, and so that we would only be able to concur with him on that. It's yeah, a relationship I'm sure he wishes he hadn't had. And we understand. One of the things I wanted to speak about, I know our time is short. There's some other things happening, and you're going to be able to hear all your questions. But some other things happening. If I just,
please do.
We're really happy about a couple of things.
Can I ask one more quick
Sure,
question
you
about
have one
those donations? I know we're running short on time. Yeah.
I'm sure you're going to ask what I was going to answer.
So kind of what I was just going to ask is, in terms of those donations, I know the investigation isn't complete yet, and so we don't know the extent of that, but
yes.
Just kind of thinking about it from this preliminary standpoint, are there any plans or ideas about how we respond to that money and what the university does now with that money?
Yeah, we would look at it, I think, and then sort of see what it is and what's appropriate. And let me give an example of something that would happen. So we have donations from someone, and then later on, that person's status changes, and we learn that we're concerned in one way or another. We then can do things like say, well, because of this, we will change a naming or something else in retrospect. In this case, we don't have anything from him, so there's nothing much that we can. So we have to think about what we could do that would be appropriate, so that we want to make an appropriate reaction. Bill Cosby was an honorary degree recipient, and we revoked his honorary degree because we could sort of say, no, we had given this to you under certain circumstances. Those circumstances don't exist anymore, and therefore we take it back. This is not that circumstance, but that's one of the ways that we would deal with these things as we go forward. So we're going to find out what it was first, and then think carefully about the best way to move forward, and appreciate that.
Would the university ever think about donating that money to some cause or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, there are a variety of things that one can do. We would always want to make sure the money was put to good use and appropriate use. And so we'd look at making sure the money was put to good and appropriate use. No question about that. This is one we'd look at very carefully and then make the right decision if we could. So let's wait till we have the data, review the data, and then we'll make a decision, and then we can talk about the decision.